Hey YouTube, today I have a folding knife from Boker Plus. This is the Batman. Sometimes it's just listed as the Bat, other times as the Batman Folder. It's a Hawkbill, as you see, open pillar construction, dual thumb studs. Now you can flick it out. Let's see if I can do it around the viewfinder. There you go. Alright, let's try it with my left hand. I am left-handed. But it's easier with your right hand if, you know, because the pocket clip's only on that side. But there you go. So you can flick it out, but you're left kind of like that. Not necessarily good in a pressure situation. I prefer to just open it like that. Here's a close-up of that blade. It's 3.5 inches in blade length. You see it has those rather giganto serrations there, and the steel is 8CR 13 MOV. And I have to say, with a knife like this is obviously a tactical knife. I don't care at all what the steel is. As long as the steel is not defective, as long as it's not pot metal, like as long as it's not just gonna snap in half under pressure, I don't give a crap about the steel. And that's because any steel is still harder than flesh. You know, there's only two reasons to use a good steel. One is if it's like some hard use survival knife that you need extreme edge retention, okay, which this is not. Or two would just be for collectability. I understand if you spend like $400 on a knife, whether you're going to use it or not, you want the best premium steel. I understand that. But this is neither collectible, nor is it any sort of outdoor survival knife. So who cares about the steel? Not me. Now as for the merits of the blade shape, well, I give it an A+ for intimidation. You know, I give it an A+ for the psycho factor. If you pull this out, people know that you thought about doing some bad things, and hopefully that would deter any rational person from continuing their aggression. But this, you know, this type of blade shape, the Hawkbill, let's not even talk about the serrations for a minute. Let's just talk about the forward tip hooking Hawkbill design. You know, that's meant for slashing, which is a strike, because a very acute forward tip just bites in like a tiger's claw. And it's also for close cutting, in this case draw cutting, which is, you know, right up against the target and then pulling, just pulling that tip through. And also cutting like this, you know, right up against the target and then cutting around any sort of curved surface. So basically it's for close cutting and for slashing. Now that being the case, this can do a bit of both of those. If it was more curved, like more of a hook, it would be better for the draw cutting because it's going to hook in deeper, right? But if you hook that point over or that tip over too far, it's going to be too much of a hook to be good at slashing because it's not going to be oriented towards your opponent enough, all right? You get what I'm saying? So if they made this more of a hook, you couldn't slash that well with it. So the fact that they made this basically a gradual curve tells me that they were thinking slash with a little bit of draw cut capability. All right, I see where they're going with that. Makes sense. Now, as far as how sharp this is, it ain't really that sharp. I mean, you know, 90% of the work is meant to be done by that extremely pointed, like, talon tip. All right, you understand that. So the edge is secondary. Of course, it has sub-tips there. You could press in. That could be useful. But basically, if you tried to slice through paper with this, it ain't, you know, it's not a paper slicer because it's fairly thick and it still maintains its thickness a good way down. All right, so it's hardly, it's not like a chef's knife or a butcher knife with a full flat grind or anything. So yeah, not good for paper, but that tip would be very good, or good for being bad on organic tissue. Now as far as the construction, it is very thick and boxy. It's 6.2 ounces. It doesn't really feel too heavy. It is beveled, right? You see that? The G10 handle scales are beveled, but it's still pretty, like even with the bevel, it is still kind of pretty boxy and clunky there. Another thing I don't like is the bead blast. I mean, if it is a protection knife, you're going to carry it every day, right? So the bead blast, not the best for rust. And also, to be honest, if you really are thinking of it as for protection, I would want this to be reflective. I would want this to be like mirror polish, really bright reflective. Because if I'm trying to ward someone off, I want them to see what I have, you know what I mean? I'm not an assassin. I'm not trying to be stealthy with it. I want them to see this from 10 feet away so they can leave and I won't have to do anything, you know what I'm saying? So I would like it if it was a more high visibility satin finish. See, it is a liner lock there. Easy to disengage. Yeah, it locks up securely. Now some people want to use it like this. Well, I understand a traditional karamba is, but this doesn't have a ring and it's not really as curved as many karambits, so I don't know, I consider it a hawkbill. But yeah, you could use it like that, but you know, you're gonna have to flip it open and then do some fancy move to orient it, so I don't know. I wouldn't want to lose that split second. It's got a 2-position pocket clip, you see there. It comes with this lanyard. I gotta ask why. I mean, it's nice to get a freebie, but you know, if you're really using this, no matter which grip you want to use it, the last thing you want is this lanyard here. A person with real fast reflexes, they might not even be trying to, but they might end up grabbing this, or it's just hitting against you. So yeah, the lanyard is the last thing I would want for a protection knife. Now, one funny thing, you know, you can always count on Boker for some funny stuff. Look how uneven where the grind starts there, way back there, and on the other side, look where the grind starts. That is a massively uneven grind right there to start the edge. So you can always count on Boker for some cool little idiosyncrasies like that. Yeah, not very good quality control there. I mean, that's pretty extreme. This also came with the pivot really tight. It came so tight that they include a free little wrench to adjust the pivot with. When I first got this, I could not flick it open. Like, you see how now I can flick it open? I could not do that when I first got it. I basically had to adjust the pivot, right? So yeah, you're definitely going to have to adjust the pivot, and be careful, because if you adjust it too much, it will develop blade play. Like, if I made this any looser at all, it would start with the blade play. All right, so I definitely have mixed feelings about this, you know. Not real happy with the poor quality control there. I don't like the bead blast in terms of rust and just how it looks. It is kind of boxy, right? As far as the use of it, it would work just as well as any other Hawkbill. I mean, it's a freaking Talon, so I mean, it would work. It'd work all right. You're not going to want to use this type of knife if a person is wearing heavy clothing, thick clothing, winter clothing, a leather jacket, stuff like that, because it's not going to, you know, compared to like a stiletto that'll just punch through even leather, you know, this is just going to slash at the layers. But then again, most people have at least their hands and face exposed, unless it's like truly freezing, so you would have to make do. But yeah, I mean, these have their, you know, these slashers, they have their benefits and drawbacks. There are people who prefer this design for self-defense simply because, you know, if you slash away, a person doesn't lead with their face, right? An aggressor leads with their hands. they lead with their arms, maybe a weapon, right? So if you slash away, chances are you're going to slash up their arm, which could conceivably, you know, that sounds a lot more like self-defense rather than if you had a dagger and you're like trying to stab their upper torso. So a lot of people, legally speaking, some people say slash is better than stab. I don't know. I think it's very situational. Alright, so that's the lowdown on this Batman. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. You might say, well, why did you review it? Dude, okay, with a blade shape like that, everybody wants to know about this blade. So, you know, I make videos that you people will probably want to see. I mean, just out of curiosity, a lot of people are just very curious about this blade. So I thought I'd show it to you, you know, both the good parts and the bad parts. This knife is about $35 now. I think that's expensive. You know, I think this should be maybe $25. If this were $25, then pretty much a lot of people would just buy it just for coolness factor, you know. At $35, I don't think it's that good of a deal. But there you go. A mixed but hopefully honest review on this Boker Batman knife. This has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.